Will I like it? Will I hate it? Let's find out with Nat at the Movies. Hello once again everybody, it's been quite a while, but this is Nat at the Movies. Yes indeed, the series where I take a look at a random movie and then share my thoughts on it. My name is Natty, and this time around I am joined by a friend. So friends, what have we done this night?
Well, hi, my name is Carl Townsend, and we watched the Smokey and the Bandit trilogy.
Which was quite a thing.
I'm
sure we'll go over all of them. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was quite surprised. I'd heard so much about them before, and finally got to see them all with a competent friend.
Well, I'm glad I am considered competent. I didn't even realize there was 3 films. I knew there was at least a sequel. I didn't know there was 3.
Yes, and the third surprised me, but they all surprised me actually. So,
but yeah, that first one, I didn't even realize they called him Bo, the bandit guy, Burt Reynolds. I just kept calling him Burt Reynolds, just like with Stroker Race. I just kept calling him Burt Reynolds. But yeah, in the second one, they kept calling him Bo, and I was like, was this an established fact that he was named Bo? Because in the second one, I was like, this is the first time I've heard him called Bo. Maybe they called him that once. They just kept referring to him as Bandit otherwise.
That was my take on it. Yes, it sort of puzzled me. It's like, did I miss something in the first one as far as everybody's names?
But it was essentially, at least the first film was essentially a moonshine bootlegger film just with a trucker skin on it.
Yes. And the CB craze that was out for a few years. Yes, tied in.
And Pontiac definitely invested in the film.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Also, they were going from Texarkana to Atlanta. That didn't look like Atlanta to me. Maybe it looked different in the 70s, but sure.
Yeah, I'm never sure with some of these films. They say, here we are in such and such a place, or New York City, and you look and it's like, those buildings are in a different city, if I recall. But, oh well, you film on location sometimes.
It's like going, we are here in sunny Phoenix, Arizona, in the middle of the Everglades.
Quite so. Yeah.
So, what were your thoughts of the first film, at least?
It actually had a storyline. It seemed they followed. There's a bit of action. You know, it definitely had a lot of the tractor trailers and drivers involved in the different scenes. You had the quiet scenes or the small scenes with Burt Reynolds and Sally Fields and the other people. Had their little bits here, little bits there. And then you had the truck driving scenes on the road.
Yeah. The original offer in the first film was $80,000, which, by the way, is the equivalent of $342,000 in this day's money. Just to haul 400 cases of Coors. How much do 400 cases of Coors cost?
Well, back then they couldn't have been all that much.
That's quite a hefty haul for them.
Yeah, I started to get the feeling that the father and son there, they didn't mind spending money wherever they got it from. They, they like to throw their money around.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was an awful lot of money to transport 400 cases of beer to their party.
I doubt that truckers were given that much in general back then.
No, I don't think so either. So that was a big prize.
Indeed. And also, 28 hours, that was the time they were given. That was a lot of traveling for 28 hours. And also, did they not have to sleep at all?
I was wondering about that. Things like sleep, stop for food, and fuel. Yes.
I'm
As they
sure
said,
they were speeding a lot, but like, really, 28 hours without sleep? It didn't seem like they slept because they didn't go stopping anywhere other than a restaurant, but I doubt you're sleeping in the restaurant.
no, you're in, get your food, and hopefully take care. Use the water facilities and get back on the road because time is important. Yeah, but I don't recall them really. They may have mentioned it, but I don't recall any dramatic refueling scenes. And as a man said in a previous movie, trucks won't run without petrol.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it was bootleg Coors beer. What made it illegal? Because I'm sure tractor trailer trucks exist all over the country transporting beer everywhere.
Well, I was wondering myself whether it was just a regional thing. For some reason, they could only sell it in certain areas because of, I don't know, maybe other alcohol or beer distributors had their territory and they had theirs. I do recall when I was younger, my friends in the Air Force would show up. So-and-so came up from Texas or from another state down south and say, oh, so-and-so brought some Coors beer. Ooh, like it was a special treat and treasure that you couldn't get elsewhere.
I'm trying to look up if they were a dry community or something like that.
That's a thought as well. Yeah. But where they'd spend that much money in getting somebody to legally bring it your party or your function, it must be some pretty damn good beer.
I can't really find any info on it. Maybe at some point someone from that area could probably inform us. Who knows?
Yes. It did seem to keep a bit of action going. I'm sorry. It did seem to keep action going through the film, though. Yes.
Yeah, but that ending, though, with the Georgia State Patrol with the motorcycle trooper, the state and local police intensely pursuing the bandits with the helicopter and all that didn't seem to go much anywhere. Like, once the motorcycle trooper was disposed of, it's like they gave up. Like, the helicopter was making him feel like he was needing to give up, but that never came back in the end. Like, they were able to just, arrive at the fair there or whatever they were doing. And they were just able to sit there just fine. It's like the helicopter gave up despite them already knowing where he was headed because they already blockaded the road downward. It's like once he got through the blockade, they were like, let's go home.
That's a good point. Yeah, I kind of wondered about that myself. It's just you're going along, okay, well, another actor in the scenario, and it's like, where are you going with this? Why is that all of a sudden sucking your enthusiasm to continue? Yeah.
And although they're supposedly the police flooding the racetrack there, like, Bandit and them just still sat there enough for them to tease Buford T. Justice.
Yes.
So, were the police really in pursuit of them if they were just sitting there? Because if they were pursuing him, wouldn't he have just went off anyway?
You would think. Yeah.
I don't know. The film wasn't perfect, but it was at least solid.
Yes.
It had a direct idea and it went for it. It didn't exactly do little pit stops here and there, distracting from what was going on.
There was a continuity, and as you said, a flow. Yeah, there was a flow of action going on through, and it's interesting that for such an enthusiastic law officer, he seemed to have a lot of disregard for laws himself, or even the interaction with other police officers as he went through states that were out of his territory. Out of his
jurisdiction. He just constantly kept doing that. He doesn't. If he cares so much for being a police officer and following the law, then why is he going outside his jurisdiction when he knows he can't do anything?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I know he isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but still.
Well, it's like I am standing up for law and order and justice, hence the name, and yet he constantly breaks laws, disrespects other law enforcement agencies through the different states and districts that he goes through.
Indeed. And someone would have quite a party if they were to do like a drinking game of that first film of how many things have they done that were illegal.
Yeah, I mean, if you stop and tallied it, he actually broke more laws or regulations than the bad guys he was chasing. If you think about it, I think if we tallied them up, I think that would be the end result.
Oh, and I just found this thing about the legal status of Coors beer. Okay.
Oh!
So, in 1977, Coors was unavailable for sale east of Oklahoma. A 1974 Time magazine article explains why Coors was so coveted that one would be willing to pay the bandit such a high price to transport it. Coors Banquet beer had a brief renaissance as certain people sought it out for its lack of stabilizers and preservatives. That's a strange thing. Yes, I want that thing that's probably even more unhealthy than usual beer. That's what I want. The article says that future Vice President Gerald Ford hid it in his luggage after a trip to Colorado in order to take it back to Washington, D.C.
Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness.
President Dwight D. Eisenhower had a steady supply airlifted to Washington by the Air Force. Wow.
Well, if you've got the power.
Wow, Eisenhower. Using the Air Force to airlift you smoke beer. You know what? Maybe they should put that in their advertisements. Eisenhower used the Air Force to airlift our drink into the White House.
Absolutely. That would be a good merchandising thing, yes.
We are so good that the presidents will commit illegal acts to get it to them.
And misuse the United States Air Force and its resources during a Cold War. Yeah. We need to get this equipment to that site immediately. I'm sorry, they're taking some beer to the president right now.
But you don't get it. The president needs them in the White House to make sure the Soviets don't take our Coors.
That is interesting. I never had any clue. I knew some weird things. Eventually we'll get into some of the weird things I've learned over the years, but that's new to me. 2 presidents. Yeah, I can see him at the airport. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ford, but we have to inspect your luggage.
He's lucky that didn't happen during a time after 9/11, because he would have had to explain, that's not mine.
Yes.
So, Carl Yastrzemski of the Boston Red Sox, I'm very likely mispronouncing that guy's last name, would bring several cases back with him on the team plane after playing opposing teams on the West Coast by stashing it in the team's equipment trunks. The article also mentions Frederick Amon, who smuggled it from Colorado to North Carolina and sold it for 4 times the retail price. As you're saying?
Well, following you on that one. Wow. And they're worried about, and we always picture the moonshine runners and stuff now. But, President using Air Force to smuggle in his illegal beer.
I knew that presidents did smuggle beer during Prohibition, but I didn't realize that kept going on that far.
Oh my goodness.
So much for the wholesome 50s.
Really?
The lack of additives and preservatives meant that Coors had the potential for spoiling in a week if it were not kept cold throughout its transportation and in storage as its destination. This explains the 28-hour deadline. Okay, makes sense. But also, the truck that they were transporting in was not a refrigerated truck.
That's a good point.
At least it didn't look like one to me. But
Didn't be a reefer truck here, no.
it looked like it was just a standard truck.
It did. I had thought about the reefer truck. Yeah, and they loaded it up pretty good, really fast, didn't they?
Loaded it up in trucking. We're going to do what they say can't be done. We've got a long way to go in a short time to get there. I don't know the rest of the lyrics. I heard it like 3 times.
Was he? Same here. Was he reading? Was he actually singing the song, or just reading the script and putting music to it? Like, no. That's not the song. That's the script. Oh, you're reading that other guy's lines.
It's interesting. Some of the CB dialogue was actually included on the soundtrack. Interesting. Definitely making a very clear period piece there. It's like,
Indeed.
This was definitely made in the late 70s. We have CB talk in it.
Yeah. Well, there was a time it was super popular with people who had no legitimate reason to be using CBs other than it was cool, and they weren't using it for business. In fact, I'd met people who had friends who did do trucking cross country, and they were annoyed at how many people all of a sudden were just getting on the CB radio, blabbing, jamming their channels, when they were doing it for business, and these people are going on about nonsense when you could just call them on the phone or walk next door. Never had one. I never had one. Never spoke on one.
I've never seen one in my life. Outside of a truck, obviously.
Yeah. I would occasionally see them at a flea market or occasionally like an old junk shop, but never owned one. But they made it. They finally got their beer there. But that explains a lot too. I never knew about the
unavailability of Coors across most of the nation.
Yeah, I never knew about that.
That does add to my point that Coors isn't exactly popular here in the South. But, the film grossed $126 million, making it the second highest grossing movie of 1977, only after Star Wars, which they earned $775 million. So,
Wow.
You weren't going to beat that one. Especially with a sleeper hit like Smokey and the Bandit.
Yes. Wow.
Burt did say that the film he enjoyed most and had the most fun making in his career.
Oh, that's interesting. It kind of looked like he was enjoying his role in the first one there, yes.
I like the consensus that Rotten Tomatoes gave it. It has a 77% approval rating, by the way, based off 31 reviews. Site's consensus states, not much in the head, but plenty beneath the hood. That explains it perfectly. It is not a film for thinking, really.
But given that, well, that explains a bit, but they did better than some films. At least it was still entertaining. I could follow it, not be totally like, oh my god, am I watching this? What's going on? No, yeah, there's enough things to keep me going.
You want to know something very interesting?
Yes, yes.
Alfred Hitchcock stated that the film was one of his favorites.
Ooh,
That's not something I would have expected.
From Alfred Hitchcock and his long career and his Alan Walker. Well, they should have put that on the poster. It's like that's a movie that yeah. Oh my God.
Alfred Hitchcock was born 1899, and it took until 1977 for him to get a film for one of my favorites. He lived to the age of 80. Go ahead.
That's fascinating.
So him at 77 years old was like, this here's one of my favorite films.
Yeah, not just saying that, I liked it, but saying it was one of my favorites from Alfred Hitchcock. Ooh, there's some compliments there.
That's definitely something you should put on the poster, like you said.
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock says that our film is one of his favorites. You should watch it.
Good evening, friends.
Upon meeting Reynolds, by the way, Billy Bob Thornton told him that the picture was not considered a film in the South so much as a documentary. Sure. Because a lot of us in the South do exactly what the bandit did? Sure. You are kind of admitting some things there, like, we do illegal acts of smuggling things across state lines. I don't think you want to say that's a documentary about your life.
Really?
Unless you're proud of being a criminal, which, go for it. Have fun with that.
I see that occasionally. People seem to idolize. It wasn't just the old Bonnie and Clyde. People idolized them and thought they were something. Or Billy the Kid, some of those other criminals. Yeah, they're idolized in film and legend, but they were criminals. They were breaking the laws. Yes.
It's interesting that a group of Trans Am owners have begun this thing called the Bandit Run, which was originally made on the 30th anniversary of the film, to take part in an annual road trip from Texarkana to Jonesboro, which is not exactly Atlanta, but still creating the route taken by the characters in the film.
I wasn't aware of that. That's interesting.
And the 40th anniversary of the movie had a special 2017 screening of the film, and it was attended by Reynolds. And a recreation of the jump undertaken by the bandit and Frog across the river. So that's her name, isn't it? They stuck with Frog?
Well, okay. He used it a couple of times, but okay.
Also, the Diablo sandwich ordered by Sheriff Buford T. Justice. I know it's just Sheriff Justice, but you have to say Buford T. Justice. Come on.
You've got to. You got to. The name like you got to use it.
And Arkansas, I know, it's Arkansas. Barbecue restaurant scene has entered popular culture as a minor reference to the film. While no authoritative, I'm butchering the English language. That is my gift.
That's fine.
While no authoritative source identifies the composition of the sandwich, there are several possibilities. A segment on the CMT program Real Eats, which is spelled like a film reel, used a Sloppy Joe style recipe consisting of seasoned ground beef, corn, and sour cream. Okay.
I was wondering when he mentioned that sandwich. It's like, I gotta find out what that is.
Another proposal, based more closely on images from the film and the shooting location of the scene at an Old Hickory House restaurant in Georgia. So it's taking place in Arkansas, but they filmed that in Georgia. Okay. Is pulled pork and hot sauce on a hamburger. Oh, I just realized That's probably why all the scenery looks so alike. It's because they probably all just filmed it in Georgia and just claimed they were going through, multiple states.
Interesting. Explains a bit.
But the restaurant there said pulled pork, hot sauce on a hamburger bun. See, that makes sense with Diablo.
Yeah,
the hot.
Yeah, I could picture like Louisiana hot sauce or Frank's hot sauce, something like that. Diablo, the devil, you always picture as fiery or hot. Ooh.
Yeah, the devil is hot. But other sources in East Texas from whence Sheriff Justice hails are familiar with the popular regional delicacy known as the Diablo sandwich. It consists of the various Louisiana-style hot sauces on Texas toast-style bread alongside the fourth most famous product of Pittsburgh, Texas. There's a Pittsburgh in Texas? Behind Pilgrim's Pride, Cavender's, and Carol Shelby. That is quite a way of writing that. Fourth most famous product of Pittsburgh, Texas, behind Pilgrim's Pride, Cavender's, and Carol Shelby. I love how that's written.
It is. That's good. Still tie in with a famous driver. Car person. Now I'm craving a Diablo sandwich. Whatever it is, I'll have to make one.
You make anything and just call it Diablo. Probably just add some hot sauce to it. It's actually Diablo. I say that's a minimum requirement of anything called Diablo. You're going to have something hot.
Yes, but a good hot sauce. I like heat with flavor. Good flavor, yes.
So that was very interesting.
Yes. Learned about Coors and why it was more of a regional item. I never realized it was because of that.
I thought it was national.
Yeah, well, here in Montana we've got it now. I think after a certain point, either they change the composition or the refrigerated transport became more accessible. When I had it in New York many, many years ago, it was because somebody snuck it in who was coming up from an air base in Texas and brought it with them. And here, I've just seen it in the grocery stores. Not everyone, but in a couple of them. So.
Yeah. I'm looking up something real quick. Okay, so I kept making comparisons of Smokey and the Bandit to the Dukes of Hazzard. The Dukes of Hazzard premiered 2 years after this film, so perhaps they got real inspired. And of course, there was other things like that on TV at the time. Also, 1979 is when the Dukes of Hazzard started. That seems awfully late for the things it was covering.
Yeah, indeed.
Because that stuff would definitely be out by the 80s. We moved on from the, Hicks jumping ditches sort of scene.
Yeah, and the stereotypical redneck sheriff, or some, not saying my thoughts or beliefs, but just the way it was portrayed. Always, yeah.
He was definitely portrayed that way, down to the certain choice comments he had about certain people.
Yes.
I do believe that Gleason did pretty much have a really good performance in that film. Burt Reynolds just played himself, really. Go ahead. Yes,
I agree with you on that. Yeah, I like Jackie Gleason. I was surprised to see. I hadn't seen him in anything for a long time till he was in these movies.
So maybe this gave him a little juice in his career, perhaps.
Yeah, because he was a talented actor and a physical actor.
Oh, most certainly.
Yeah.
I also do enjoy that one moment. I believe it was in the first film. My memory is just blurring all three of them together at this point. They all kind of have the same visual aesthetic. I do enjoy the one scene at the diner as Sheriff Buford T. Justice was leaving, and he had the toilet paper stuck to his glasses there. And then the lady came out and started picking it up. That was funny.
Yeah, she took it off his glasses, and she started to fold it up and roll it up, it looked like. Ah. And that was refreshing from the typical, it's stuck in your pants. He's just seeing so many movies. Because I'm sure he's not the only one, I'm not the only one who's ever been desperate enough to use a piece of toilet paper on my glasses to clean my lenses.
I can tell you from experience, I've had to do that numerous times.
Yes.
But
So that was a fresh take.
Go ahead.
So that was a fresh take on the walking out of the bathroom with toilet paper. It was from cleaning his glasses, so good on them.
Yeah. Also, the Trans Am was interesting. And I know so many people have definitely done that paint scheme on their Trans Ams.
I've seen a few in New York many years ago. A number of different ones in the black with that original emblem on the hood. And a couple with 6.6 liter engine. Oh, yeah.
An interesting note, by the way. After the debut of the film, Pontiac Trans Am became wildly popular as a car, with sales almost doubling within 2 years of the film's release. Much to the delight of General Motors, as you may imagine.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
In fact, it outsold the Camaro for the first time ever.
Yeah, because Camaro was, I think, more of the, I got a Camaro. It's like, I got a Firebird. Close, but not the same thing. So, yeah, that made a big difference, I think, on the marketing interest of the Firebird itself. Because Chevrolet was more of the performance member of the family, at least up to that point.
As for Burt, by the way, he was given the 1977 vehicle used during promotion of the film as a gift, though the car itself never actually appeared in the film.
Ah, nice.
Oh, this is funny. Because of the popularity of the film and the sales success of the Trans Am, then President of Pontiac Alex Mayer promised to supply Reynolds with a Trans Am each year. Did he really need one each year?
That's good. I mean, it sounds nice, but what are you gonna do? 10 years now. 10 years after, what was it now? I don't know. Even 20 years after, we gotta have 20 Firebirds.
Owing to his financial difficulties, however, in 2014, Reynolds put his vast collection of artwork and memorabilia up for auction, including the Trans Am. High estimates of the car were up to $80,000, but that was dwarfed by the actual sale price of $450,000. Also up for auction was a go-kart replica of the car, which sold for nearly $14,000. A go-kart replica of the car selling that much? Okay, sure. In 2015, a Florida-based automotive customization company announced it would build 77 Trans Ams modeled after the car that Reynolds drove in the film. These models were built off the same Camaro platform, came with the Pontiac Arrowhead, Flaming Bird, and Bandit logos, as well as panels, center consoles, and hood scoops, emulating their 1977 counterparts, and were signed by Reynolds. Some differences included the use of a supercharged 454 SID, a Chevrolet-sourced engine that put out 840 horsepower, and 4 round headlights, which appeared on the 67-69 Firebirds / Trans Ams only. The actual 1977-81 models had rectangular headlights.
Right. I didn't know they did that. That's interesting.
By the way, the film was made on a $4.3 million budget and got $126 million. So, definitely didn't flop there.
So it's not on that list of movies we were talking about the other night.
Indeed. where they lost like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes. Oh, I guess I can see why they made a sequel or so. Just if they made that much money off of the first, but that's another thing to discuss when we get to the second and third.
But yes, what were your final thoughts on the original film, at least?
I found it a fun movie to watch. Different things going on, but they kept going. They'd have the quieter moments here and there, but they did have a lot of action. You'd see a lot of tractor trailers on the road. Yeah, but it kept going. The slow moments were sensible slow moments, but they kept going. Although I did question the you've got to have time to eat and fuel and occasionally sleep. I realized it was 28 hours. It's one day. But, at least they'd have to stop for fuel and eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was action all through the film pretty much. There's pretty much a consistency of things going on. So, yeah. I found it entertaining. I did find it entertaining.
As for my thoughts, I did enjoy that it continued along and then just keep stopping for like no reason. And speaking of stopping in places with no reason, how about we move on to the second movie?
Well, that's a good intro. Yes. Oh, my dear friend, I will allow you to. I'll let you have the first words on that one. The second one.
Well, this whole thing was shit. Let's just put that first one on print. I believe that's how he worded it at the very end.
Yeah, something along those lines, yes. He pretty well called it. He's like, well, if they'd had that in the front at the start of the film, we'd have expected it.
And do remember, he said that the first film was like his most favorite to film. And then in this one, he had said he did not enjoy working on the movie at all, feeling it was an unnecessary sequel put together by Universal purely for money-making reasons rather than to try making a good picture.
Which, yeah, I can see that because, as you said, they made some good money off the first one, and they just assumed that we'll put the same thing out and we'll make more money. And, yeah, his acting was a little lackluster at points. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Indeed.
But for me, the second one was very disjointed, if I should say, and a lot of things that just didn't make sense. Not that they were necessarily bad in their own rights, but they just seemed to have no consistency, no storyline being followed. There was a lot of vehicle destruction. I know that was popular in films, but kind of went overboard. Let's see how many police cars we can destroy and break records in.
Yeah, there was record breaking going on, and a lot of Pontiac breaking. Like, that's one thing you can say about these two films, is Pontiac was dedicated.
They kept giving him cars. They kept getting cars to him. Yeah.
Indeed. Also, the Italian gynecologist in the back of that one ambulance, that whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you just one long stereotype they just decided to keep that character in the film with.
Yeah, that was... Yeah. I've grown up in my life, younger days, in places like Rome, New York, Utica, New York, places where I met people of Italian extraction, lots of them, and it was not necessarily. That was more of a stereotype. The acting he did, and not really great.
Indeed. In fact, they just kept going. They didn't really need to bring the character along if it weren't for the elephants in the room.
Ah.
I went there.
Speaking of the elephants, yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, there wasn't a that was like, I didn't understand why. I'm sorry, why the elephant? I mean, all we know is supposed to be turned out to be a surprise, being taken to the Republican convention or whatnot, or GOP, whatever thing, and yeah, poor elephant.
That elephant had to put up with so much, and also Burt Reynolds was just not pleasant in this film. And he definitely did not redeem himself even in that little last act of his. Like, no, he was just unpleasant through the entire thing.
Which I think is a reflection or an indication that he really didn't wanting to do it. That it's like, oh, I got to do another one. I'm under contract or obligation to do another one. Okay, sort of thing. And I think that showed on top of all the other confusion. Because it had the same director, I believe.
Yeah, same director.
You know, from a big money-making, adventure, the first one, what happened? Or, if I may quote someone from one of my favorite cartoons, what the what? It did seem, though, that, Jackie Gleason was still having fun with the role. He was consistent with his character, pretty much. And the actor playing his unfortunate son there, actually all the way through. But Sally Field, she seemed to be it made it more awkward to me that she was still acting seriously in her role in A Massive Confusion, and the other main character just like not really wanting to even bother. So it made her acting even look more obscure or more awkward.
You know what Burt reminded me of? Strucker Ace. He just acts completely like him. So I'm thinking that also means he didn't want to appear in that one.
Yeah, because it was... Yeah, that's a good point. It's like...
Because he really just acts like an asshole, really. in this and that one.
Yes, and I've seen him in other roles. He was probably in a Twilight... I'm sure he was in a Twilight Zone episode. I know he was in a similar show that. And he played in other films. He even played... oh my god, I think it was Sharky's Machine where he played a detective. And he was acting in those. He was putting an effort in. It didn't seem like he was making an effort in these others. Yeah.
Or maybe he was just given really terrible, writing to read off of. But I'm sure it was a mixture of both.
It could well be, because I've seen great actors, or what I consider great actors as far as their talents, take something that's and do something really good with it. You can tell. And then I've also seen people's like, I really don't even want to be here. Do I have to be here? Okay, I'm here. Hello, I am reading my script. Ha, Yeah.
Yeah. And also the constant going back to bribing people. Like, okay, first time or so, that's funny. Now you're doing it for the fourth time.
Yeah, way too much. Like, everybody you run into, like, okay, here's some money. Oh, okay, I'm giving up my responsibilities as, an official here at the park, animal park. You give me enough money, do what you want, Yeah, that happened a couple, as you say, a couple of times. Okay, it might be funny. It might be a parody of the characters or an indication of the characters. But, yeah, when it's like, continues almost every interaction with an official, nah. That's being lazy. That's being lazy, I think, in your script writing.
Indeed. Also, since not a lot of the film is worth talking about because it didn't seem anyone really cared during the making of this film.
No, it was so disjointed and so many things. Like, why is this even here? This might be good for a short film, a short, a side, like say a sideline or a spin-off thing. Like we did a short here from the movie, but so many things. And what was the point?
And so many scenes were just there to stop the action. They didn't let things progress at all.
They didn't tie in with a common theme to get us from point A to point B. I don't mind if you go up the hill, down the road, make a few missed turns, but there was like all of a sudden we're in town A. Oh, all of a sudden we're in town B. Oh my goodness! Look at all this stuff going on here.
And look at all the cameos.
Yeah, they didn't even like have a consistency, or they weren't there for a few minutes or have a relevance. It's like, oh, we're paying this sports personality to show up. Oh, he's on screen. We put him on the list of actors in this film. Hi, I'm here. Hello, bye. Huh? Yeah. Oh, my old friend so and so. Thank you for showing up, my old friend so and so. Okay, bye. And that was it. There was no acting, no effort, it seemed. It was well spotted. Sorry, not the spot, actually. I did enjoy the fact that they had those warplanes for some reason. They had 3 B-25 Mitchell bombers, and then they had a couple of Avenger torpedo planes. And it's like, okay, that was kind of neat, but where's the tie-in? I was glad to see him because that's one of my things, but it's like, but there's no tie-in to the theme here.
That's a good point. It's like they just decided to toss away most of their budget that wasn't going to the cameos in the first scene of the film.
Yeah.
And then there was, semi-racing for whatever reason.
That looked interesting now. I found that interesting, but then where are the semis until the the big crazy scene of destroying all the police vehicles?
And speaking of destroying all the police vehicle scene, we have to at least mention Buford T. Justice and his brothers, Reggie, a Mountie sergeant in Quebec, and Gaylord, an effeminate Texas State patrolman.
Yes! Now, that was a strange thing, but were you just giving Jackie Gleason a chance to prove or show his acting and character skills? Okay, but I didn't see any other relevance. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the characters. I didn't mind seeing those interesting characters, you're playing, but I didn't see any, like a lot of things, any necessity to the storyline, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This film, compared to the first one, definitely jumped the shark all the way to the moon.
Well put. Well said. Yeah. It's like I'm assuming you had a good budget since you already made a bunch of money off the first one. You could have had somebody in charge who says, well, here's a storyline. Oh, a storyline. Script writers and storylines. Things like that. Yeah. You have to have something flowing. It's like taking a series, a comedy TV series, and just taking a bunch of their skits and then combining them in, an hour and a half movie. Okay, but they're totally disjointed. I must say, I've never seen that many trucks going against that many police vehicles, and that was because up to that point you didn't see any trucks, except as you pointed out in the very beginning when they were racing on that one track.
Which that was an actual racetrack too, the Atlanta International Speedway, which is now Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Ah,
But
yes.
yeah, do think the semi-racing was a neat idea, at least on an oval, because I know I've seen it on road courses. There's even a video game about that. But, or a video game that includes it. Anyway, that would be a very expensive thing to do, especially having to change its tires and all that.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Yes, and we've got it down to 4 minutes. That's another record for the track.
Also, I just remembered in the credits of the Smoking Bandit 2 there, they actually did credit the 1980 Pontiac Trans Am in the credits as one of the actors in the film.
I missed that one. Well spotted.
Sorry for interrupting. Do continue.
Oh no, not at all. No, you're good. No, I never caught that. Yeah, it's just like, I know they had the same director, but it's like, was he directing, or did he say, well, give me the cash, give me the credit, and do what you want with the movie, sort of thing.
Also, the film was not helped by Hal Needham's, blooper reel thing that he decided to start adding to his movies with this movie. Like, the bloopers definitely show that no one gave a single flying fuck about this film.
Yeah.
And you could tell it while watching it, no one cared about anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of got that impression myself, and it's, as I said, Sally Field, she was trying to act seriously, and it looked even more awkward or ludicrous compared to how everybody else was like, oh, you can put some effort in if you want. The rest, I don't care. I'm here. I have to be here, or I'm getting paid. Although, to be fair, Jackie Gleason and the actor playing his son, actually, they were more consistent quality from the first as far as their characters, I think.
Indeed.
Yeah. Oh, and let's not forget the elephant that...
We keep forgetting to address the elephant in the room.
It's like... well put.
The elephant was actually a good actor.
I know. She was so nice to everybody. It was a friendly elephant. Yeah. But it was like... yeah, it's like that part you borrowed from another movie as far as somebody reluctantly transporting an elephant someplace. But we can keep that for another film review, I think. But yeah.
Also, another thing about the credits, Gaylord Justice, the character in the credits though was credited as Miss Jackie Gleason.
Another one I missed. I didn't see that one. But it was nice that he did get a chance to display some of his acting abilities from some of his previous endeavors and shows. I mean, he could play different characters. Get to see all three. That was a surprise, though, to me. But I was like, "Oh, why are you doing this? Like, it's good, but why?"
Also, it was really strange that they included a musical scene in a bar. They just showed up at the bar and left after the song. Like, there was no reason for them to go there. There's so many scenes they could have just cut out.
Yeah. It's either like you left out a bunch of stuff, or you just did stuff and stuck it in arbitrarily or willy-nilly.
Indeed. Also, go ahead.
And did we mention there was actually an elephant in there?
Yes.
What relevance it made to the story, yeah.
Especially since they just gave up at the end of the film. That's what it seemed to me, by the way. It's like they had wasted all their budget on all the other scenes that we had seen. And so they decided to just give up, because that was most certainly not a character development of the Bandit in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
It seemed more like they just ran out of budget and were like, hey guys, we're not actually able to afford the elephant any longer, and you have to take them back. Also, we ran out of money, so we're not going to be able to create a RNC convention.
Yeah.
So we need to write this to wrap up real quick.
That's a good point, because I expected them to, at least after what they went through, come up with a surprise with the elephant and the baby elephant, and bring them there and have either some commentary interaction on the convention, but they didn't even bother with it. That was something that should have been. That was the start, effectively. Well, as far as the storyline with the elephant, and they didn't bring it. They didn't. There was no conclusion. Yeah, no proper conclusion to that.
Yeah, and the film was written and produced before it was announced that the 1980 Republican National Convention would be held in Detroit rather than Dallas. Even then, that doesn't excuse why they don't, wrap that up at the end. To me, it really does seem like they just ran out of budget.
Yeah.
And it was like a really sudden ending.
Yeah, it's like there was more that obviously should have concluded, but don't bother. We're done. That's it. Yeah, make sure you turn the lights off before the electricity, the electricity is shut off.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. Not the shining star of a film. The second one, that is, there.
Yeah, but the first film made a lot of money, like $122 million for them. The second film had a budget of $17 million. A lot of that likely for the cameos and the planes and such they had to use, and made $66 million. Not a lot compared to the first one, but I think it was riding off the success of the first one, because this film had nothing to back it up. So I'm guessing it was probably big opening weekend, but it was like, no one really likes this.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It was the 8th most popular 1980 film at the box offices of the US and Canada. But yeah, the second film didn't really need to exist, like Bert said. And I also really like that the thing they included at the very end of the film was him insulting the entire thing. They left that in.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. It's like, we could have figured that out. We already figured that out ourselves, but to have one of the main stars basically say, yeah, this thing sucked, and we just said, just go with the first take on everything. It's like, wow. Oh, wow.
That quote alone says quite a lot about the film.
I mean, you and I were both, I think, trying to be generous or giving it a chance, all through it, and, well, it really wasn't that great. And then the lead star, one of the main stars, goes like, this wasn't much of anything, this was crap. It's like, oh, wow. You were harsher than we were. We were trying to at least be nice. Yeah. Well, don't know if there's
and also, they did nothing about him stealing a Greyhound bus at the very end of the film.
Yeah, he was, for somebody who's big into justice and law enforcement and being so big and boom, boom, boom about it, he broke so many laws, disregarded jurisdictions, insulted or put in jeopardy other law officers across every place he went.
In fact, he did assault that one officer that pulled him over for driving a vehicle that was definitely not road legal.
Yeah, he jumped out of the vehicle, started poking and pushing at him, and
pushing him into the road.
Yeah, well, there was vehicles coming, and then pretty much verbally abusing the guy.
Indeed.
He was asserting his dominance.
I wonder how many takes that took, though. Because he just kept rolling off.
Yeah.
He definitely was starting to grow to be quite the star of the film, and
he proved to be more of a three-dimensional character, not just the stereotypical cardboard post-up of the dumb sheriff sort of thing. He even in the simplest stuff he did develop a character, a three-dimensional one.
Yeah, compared to whatever his face was, Boss Hogg on Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, he definitely had more personality.
Yeah.
I had to think of the name for a moment because I have not watched that show in ages.
And I thought about that when we were watching these. I thought, I got that one myself.
That makes it even more obvious to me that Dukes of Hazzard is most certainly a knockoff of Smokey and the Bandit.
And the actor who played his son, a not overly bright stuffed shirt law enforcement officer carried in with the Dukes of Hazzard with the the goober guy, sheriff. Yeah. He may have been somewhat modeled after him, even.
Perhaps. That's exactly what I was about to start mentioning there as well. What were your final thoughts on Smokey and the Bandit 2?
I think it should remain the movie whose name we shall never mention again.
I actually was like, okay, we're in the second film. We should probably complete the trilogy. But going through the film, I was like, do we have to?
And I was with you on that thought. It's like, oh my God, if this is what the second one was, I do not know. I do not really want to see. And that's rare for me, because we've seen some movies in a series, and we'll go through. But this was like, oh no, I can't. Do we have to? I never do that. We never do that. We'll kid about it. It's like, well, let's go ahead and watch it anyway. This one, so yeah. For us to it was taking a leap of faith, as it were, to watch the third.
Indeed.
And then you look at the poster and everything about it, and it's like, Burt Reynolds, the key character as the bandit, is not even in the third. Where is this one going to go?
But yeah, like the second film, I feel definitely did not need to exist. And it seemed everyone involved with the project were not wanting it to exist. They were trying their best to make it not exist.
And basically had the same thoughts. Yeah. And they were the ones making it. Yeah.
Indeed. Go ahead.
But I do. That's one of the first times that Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise acted together. And they worked together later on, I believe, in some films.
And I do remember thinking, this is probably the worst sequel to a film I've seen. And it was also the first film I've seen where nobody gave that much of a shit to anything in it.
No. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that was the definite impression.
I've never seen a film give less of a shit about itself or anything in it.
Agreed.
The one person who really did seem to give a shit in their acting was Sally Field, and Jackie Gleason just chewed up everything he could. And yeah, speaking of Jackie Gleason chewing up the film, Smokey and the Bandit Part 3 basically stars him. So why don't we talk about that?
Yes, indeed.
This time around, it does not have the same director. Maybe that's one thing to know.
That's good. Whoa, I didn't realize that. Well, at first when I saw this, the poster or the image for the film, and read, it's like, it doesn't even have the bandit in the movie, but it's in the title. The actor who played the bandit in the first two is not even in it. And the very start where they had the sort of sepia-toned clips from the previous ones showing Burt Reynolds and some of the other characters. Like, oh, okay, how much time are they going to keep playing clips? How much time are they going to kill with that? It's like, this is, I think, as you pointed out when we were watching, that's not a good sign to start out
Exactly. We would just came off of the second film, and the first thing you greet us with is a clip show. No thing that has done a clip show has ever been a good sign.
No, and this one had the quick reference or the Star Wars knockoff of the, in a district far, far away, the sheriff so and so, and then the clip or the reference to the Patton films of George C. Scott. As soon as I saw the big American flag, it's like, oh, I know what they're going to go for this. And he comes out with a shiny helmet, and it's like, oh my goodness, how many films references are going to rip off?
Oh God, and so many films were referenced in this film.
Yes. And they didn't even, other than the Patton thing, they didn't go too far with them. But it was just, at some point, it actually started. It surprised us both, I think. I know it surprised me. It's just like, this actually isn't bad. At certain points,
we were thinking, okay, the second film was that bad, it can't get any worse. There's no way they can make it worse.
Yeah, but we gave him a chance to.
They even did a Jaws reference. Which, speaking of jumping the shark, they literally had a shark on car, and they did jumps.
There you go. Very good. And it got to the point, it's like, oh, why did we do this? We decided we're going to do it and do the third despite the second. It's like, oh, no, this isn't bad. At a certain point, oh, my goodness. Oh, it started to actually get good. We were surprised. Yeah. Once it detached itself, I was a little concerned when Jerry Reed, I believe his name is, became the bandit. It's like, oh, okay, now we see where they can claim the bandit as one of the characters in the title. And I was surprised that they actually used the smaller Camaro, but I guess they wanted to be modern, consistent, or it's all they could get. But it wasn't I forgot what my friend used to call them because he was into those cars. But it's a smaller Camaro. I picture the big muscle car Camaro. This is a little muscle car. So we can get our corporate, economy going. A lot of companies did that with their muscle cars. The tiny Mustangs and the tiny Camaros and the tiny Firebirds.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying yes. I'm just just picturing it.
I do gotta say, the twin Enoses there, father son, I suppose they were called. They were also pushed into the film much more compared to only appearing in a scene in the last film.
Yeah. They had a bigger part,
This was definitely getting rid of the main character of the Smokey and the Bandit films, then making the side characters the stars.
Yes, very much so. And after Jerry Reed became the new bandit, which I didn't no, he's not in it. Oh, somebody's turning into him. After a bit, he sort of grew on you. Grew on me, yeah. After it's then, because it started out with not a lot of promise after the second one.
Yeah, but after a certain point with these films, you already know you're not going to get greatness out of them. The first film wasn't a perfect masterpiece. It was certainly better than the second, though. Yeah, at
Yes.
least let the plot continue.
Yeah, or have a consistency. But the third one, after a point, they started surprising me. It's like they're actually trying in this one. They're actually
Yeah, there
trying.
was
And
some effort. I'm guessing the new director probably helped and new writers.
yes, and the characters, and most of the characters, well, like the sheriff, his son, and even the father and son there, the Enos guys, they had bigger roles. They had more dimension to their characters.
Indeed.
No, maybe they had more. Yeah.
Even if they didn't have much of a budget, they still tried some things.
Yes, and I caught that, and that's what after a certain point started getting me to think like this really isn't a bad movie, and everybody was trying. They looked like they were actually, it sounded like they were actually enthusiastic about it.
Gleason was most certainly having fun with it.
Oh, he was. Yeah,
I
Jeffy
love that
did.
the writers that came on for this just didn't care anymore. They're like, we already know this is going to be the end of the line. Let's just have fun with it.
And that
They actually
and that
let the
helped.
characters have some development compared to the other films. They actually gave the characters some third dimension to them. I like that.
I did too. Yes, and after a certain point, it's like, okay, well, let's watch this movie with sort of the same enthusiasm or anticipation as with the first. Like, well, what's going to happen now? Rather than, oh my God, what is going on? It became, ooh, what are they going to do next? They did something good with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
they made
especially after the halfway point. Go ahead.
Yes, no. Yeah, you're right. That was about the point, and I loved the hotel scene there.
That motel scene, the come on in, that was an amazing
Oh.
scene. I didn't want that scene to end. After all these other scenes where I was like, okay, can we please move this along? This is dragging out.
Yeah, make it stop and let's go. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was, and I wasn't expecting any of it. They kept
And
surprising.
the come on in, everywhere you looked, there was something else happening in the background. Somebody actually put effort into it. I loved it.
That's something I like in a film too. Okay, I'm following the main plot, the main people, but my eye, it's sort of like the peripheral vision, you spot something else going on. And I loved when he opens the one door, like, oh, that's something interesting. Oh, another one, ooh, that's something interesting. And then, oh my goodness.
Just each door they opened, it kept getting more and more extreme. I loved it. You don't see many films taking that kind of shot at things. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long that part lasted, but it was fun to follow in that. It's like, yeah, it was entertaining.
And then the muscular woman, that was a brilliant job done by Faith Minson, who gave like some of the best performance of the film.
Yes,
I love that character. Go ahead.
I did too. The scene in the window where they're trying to sneak her out, and Jack Gleason, since they're handcuffed, is trying to get out. That kind of reminded me of W.C. Fields' film about little short film about the dentist, where he's got that woman in the dentist chair, and they're physically interacting, and in an interesting way. But all the people that turned up in that motel, it was definitely a no-tell motel.
I've never heard that term. That's a good term for that, though.
No-tell motel. Ah, dear, yeah.
Everywhere you looked, something was going on. I loved it.
It was all different things, too. It was fun.
Even as the characters were speaking, you could see someone just crawling on their hands and knees in certain kind of gear, just off the shot. It was hilarious. I adored that scene. And then the muscular woman, who was named Tina, apparently, that character was great. Faith Minson had a great performance. And later on, when they came out of the trunk, that was just amazing. That character
I
needs
wasn't
a
expecting
film.
that. Oh yeah, I wasn't.
I thought it was
expecting
just a one-off, motel scene. I didn't expect them to come back.
Yeah, because you didn't see him, see her with the sheriff and Sonny. I thought, okay, I guess he must have, unhandcuffed her and went on. But after that one scene there, the trunk starts to move, and then the trunk lid comes up, and oh my God, they're there. She's there. It's like, yes, they did keep her in for a bit.
Indeed.
He was an interesting foil to the sheriff.
Indeed. Then there's that whole scene when they're doing the boating. Like, that was a scene that didn't need to exist, but I enjoyed the nudist camp that came out of nowhere.
That was fun too. It's like, oh wow, yeah. When the sheriff winds up, when the boat hits the shore at speed, the sheriff flies off and lands on their picnic table or picnic mat there, and it's like, what?
And then there were so many callbacks to the first film and others, by the way. Like, Gleason's character stayed basically consistent since the first film. It just got more developed this time around. Like, he kept to his character. He knew his character.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't just the same rehash. I mean, it was everything he did was fresh. The same per character, but it was fresh. Each scene he was in, each thing he did was fresh. And as you said, developing. I love that.
And then the finale, when Buford is just right there thinking he's caught the bandit and he's having his visions, and then Burt Reynolds suddenly shows up for a cameo, which he really does not seem like he cares to be in the film still. But he gave a performance.
Yeah. And as soon as the Jerry Reed says, okay, he figured out that, I won't say the sheriff is delusional. The sheriff has this vision of his nemesis, his arch nemesis in mind. So since the fellow had been acting as him, I love that when he tells the woman there to just sit still, don't move. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's like you can't see them when they're not moving. But it's sort of that little blurry, that dreamy scene where Burt Reynolds was actually there. That little bit, and the very tall, muscular woman, she reappeared towards the end there too. So they brought her.
Indeed, and I love that she just takes the sun out of the scene and says, "Oh, now there's room," and then just rides on. I will say the sun definitely didn't need to keep saying "Daddy" so much.
That was a couple of times, and then he could have said something else. Yeah, that was starting to annoy me too. I was like, this is not.
But yeah, I love Tina. That was a great character. They need to make a film off of Gleason and Tina, just like a spin-off series or something.
That would have been good.
Oh, and I just realized one of the credits in the third film there, one of the characters apparently was named Mother Trucker.
Oh!
Also, imagine having things like Sand Dumper, Tar Worker, Black Man number 1, Black Man number 2, Nudist Female, Nudist Male on your,
your resume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I enjoyed that driving instructor scene, and then the lady cusses them out after wrecking around her. That did remind me of one of the Naked Gun movies when the person said, extend your arm, raise your middle finger, and all that. That was funny.
That was I thought about that too myself. Yeah. And
Go ahead.
in fact, the driver in the Naked Gun one, I think that was the guy. He was in this last film. I know he was in one of them, or it looked like him. So that would have been it. I'll have to look that up myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, Jackie Gleason played a similar character in, I believe, Live and Let Die, the James Bond film with Roger Moore.
Hmm.
So there's another show with him playing the sheriff character.
And the film also has a lot of things that could have been cut out anyway that didn't really make sense or need to exist. Speaking of things that didn't need to exist or are pointless and could have been cut out, we can't forget the Klansman. There was no need for that scene.
Especially the way it was done.
It just kept going on, and then there was like no payoff in it. Really. At least for the people that were being targeted by the harassment.
Yeah, that was a scene that either didn't need to be in there or should have been done a lot differently. But, we'll consider them the elephant in the room.
At least for this film. Last time around, it was a literal elephant. This time around, it's the Klansman.
Yeah. Because there was no lesson taught. No great social statement made out of it. It was just included. Jackie Gleason did good in this one. And as I said, after seeing the second one, and during the second one, whatever, the movie whose name shall not be mentioned, and then the way they started with oh my gosh, you got the sepia tone memories of the last movies. It finally did pick up and seem to develop. Like, we're doing something here. We're professionals, and we're making a movie.
Indeed. It started out real slow, but it did pick up after like the halfway point.
Yeah.
Especially after all the tired stuff we had been watching there for the last 2 hours by that point. We finally get the hotel or motel scene, rather. That was incredible.
Yeah.
We found something with effort.
Yeah. And after some of those references to the previous, we'll have another scene where Jerry Reed goes into the bar and there's bikers out there and he gets in a fight. It's like, yeah, you did that in a previous one. Okay, and you're not even really making an effort. And there were a couple of, there's a couple of scenes that they recreated something and didn't even put an effort into the recreation. So, yeah.
Yeah, I will note the ending having the bandits surrender and all that. Like, I feel they wanted to make it longer. The film was definitely short, but I feel they wanted it to be longer, but they were only given $9 million as a budget, which they only made $7 million back, by the way. But,
wow.
Yeah, I'm sure no one really wanted a third film by that point after how terrible the second was. But, I think they used up all their budget, so they couldn't even, write any more scenes. Especially after the major explosion scene. Like, if you want over-the-top insanity, this film's pretty much your thing.
Yeah.
Where nothing really makes sense at this point, and no one cares to make it make sense.
Yeah. I agree.
I will say that it's definitely not perfect. It's still a bad film, but it's at least an enjoyable bad film.
I was going to say a watchable bad film, which had some, like I said, starting around the motel scene, it's like, oh, this is fun. This is unexpected. This is entertainment. Yeah. It's like, oh, I perked up. It's like it kind of wake out from the coma, the stupor that you've been driven into.
And remember, the second film, when we were watching it, at least, you said it made you ill.
I'm sorry, but yeah, it actually felt like I'm tensing up my body, my shoulders.
It was a very uncomfortable watch.
Yeah, it was.
This third one wasn't that uncomfortable. Like, we were already as uncomfortable as could be after watching the second film, so going into the third, it's like, it can't get much worse.
Yeah. And finally got it, like, it's not so bad. It's actually kind of good. I do like how at the end, Jerry Reed playing, Burt Reynolds' part, as the bandit, decided I'm going to, basically to let the sheriff have something. It's like, like, you can give me 5 seconds. No, I ain't going to do it. And finally the sheriff goes, all right, go ahead. I'll give you 5 minutes head start, sort of thing. That was a very, very good writing and a very
the characters
good
that bothered to show up for this one from the other films, they were really good at what they were doing. They seemed to at least care for their performance.
That was a good twist to put in at the end there. It's like, it's something you wouldn't expect Burt Reynolds to do, considering what we've seen in the other roles. But the guy who took over Burt Reynolds' role, who was playing the bandit, he threw his little bit of humanity in there and gave the sheriff a break. He gave him something after all he'd put him through. That I found very respectable and admirable. I liked that as a story. Yeah.
And also, there is no more ways that Gleason could make a car not operable. Because they basically worked it down to what I believe was just an engine and the wheels at that point.
Yeah, engine and wheels on a frame. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta say, cars they built in the 70s and early 80s apparently were really good at lasting, despite you doing whatever Gleason would do to them.
Yeah. Made me think of the car in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles after that finally getting just tore up. And the officer goes, do you feel that this vehicle is safe to be on the road? No, I do. I definitely do. Yeah. Get this piece of you-know-what off the road. You're not driving this car in my county. And then he gets up, but it is amazing what he did with that vehicle. Oh, God.
Indeed. As for some production notes about Smokey Bandit Part 3, the film was originally entitled Smokey is the Bandit and did not include Jerry Reed in the cast. Contemporary newspapers referred to original plans to feature Gleason as both Smokey and the Bandit. And Reed's name does not appear in early promotional materials or newspaper accounts during the film's production. According to some accounts, Jackie Gleason was to play 2 roles, Sheriff Buford T. Justice, and a different bandit. The original version was shot in October of '82. Reportedly, test audiences reacted poorly, finding Gleason's 2 roles confusing, so the studio opted to do reshoots in April of '83. The bandit scenes were reshot with Jerry Reed playing the role. Other accounts indicate the title was more literal, that Gleason was to play only Sheriff Justice, but the character would also fill the role of the bandit by taking the Enos's family challenge, as Reynolds' character had done in the previous 2 films. In a teaser trailer for the film, billed as Smokey is the Bandit, Gleason appears in character as Justice, explaining to the audience that to defeat the bandit he would adopt the attributes of his prey, becoming my own worst enemy.
Interesting. It takes a thief to catch a thief, sort of theme.
Indeed. A publicity still of Gleason apparently shows him in costume as the bandit.
That'd be an interesting find. I'll have to say that I'm glad they went the route they did. If they were going to produce it, I'm glad they went the route they did. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah. Like, they knew the major stars of the film were not coming, but they let the side characters really shine in this one.
Absolutely, yeah.
The only side character they didn't bring back seemed to be the elephant.
Yeah. and that was rather disappointing. Yeah, that wasn't even very solid or well put out. I mean, some of the other films I've seen with elephants and animals as being the character and one of the main characters involved, they usually do a little bit better. It was a good acting elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
As for the third film, what are your final thoughts on it?
I was not holding up much hope, a lot more dread, and I don't usually do that. I try not to at the beginning, before we even watch it. It's like, oh, after the second one, I don't know if we could even do this. After the initial start with the sepia tone references, the previous one with the bits, it's like, oh. But as you said, about midpoint, particularly around the motel scene, it started getting, dare I say, good.
That motel scene came out of nowhere with actual quality comedy going on.
Unanticipated, unexpected humor. Yeah. I was surprised. And it's like, oh, all of a sudden, instead of like, oh my God, what is this going to end? What are they going to do? It's like I started looking forward to what was going to happen. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, they played it well. I enjoyed. That was the wake up part. I think it was the change there. The positive change where, oh, this is going to be a good movie, or at least a tolerable movie, and the people were making an effort. Yeah.
Yeah, there was at least some more effort put into it.
Yes.
Even if a lot of parts could have still been cut out, and it was still just 85 minutes, but it seemed short. So to cut out much more couldn't even qualify it as a movie.
Right. And because I didn't see the need for the remakes of the biker scene and the fight scene. There were a couple other things it's like you didn't have to copy this, and you didn't even copy it very well. You could have left those out entirely. If you had to, I don't really like when they replay key scenes like that from a previous movie. Or as you said, they could have been left out, but then what would they have filled it with? Yeah, I wonder. Overall, I could say, not that I necessarily would, right? There's lots of things I'm going to watch before, but I get to the point, I'd watch the first one and the third one, and I wouldn't even miss the second one. I hate to say it, but that's how I feel.
So that's kind of like me with the Cars franchise. I can watch the first and third.
Yes. Yes.
As for the Smokey and the Bandit films, I think I only watched part 3 and only after halfway.
There you go. It's a short... Yeah, it'd be a short watch. Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, I don't need to see Smokey and the Bandit 1 anymore. I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't something I really need to watch again, and 2 most certainly isn't.
Yeah, 1 was okay as a movie, but nothing that, I gotta get this on Blu-ray sort of thing and watch it again and again. The second one I can certainly live without. and as you said, the third one, having watched it, and it's like I could watch it from the start to the end, but I don't have to start, as you said, I don't need the very beginning at all. Motel on, and then we go. It's a very short film that way, but I could do that. Then I could enjoy the experience,
Yeah, I feel we could probably bring it back for some, bad movie nights if we were to watch some things.
Yes. But the first is once you've seen it, you don't need to see it again. The second one, you don't need to see again. Yeah. On a bad movie night when we were doing these schlocky old films, I could go with the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, my thoughts.
Huh. Now, as for the series as a whole, any thoughts on that?
A series that did not need to be, but He said halfway through the third, I could watch a third. But that's it. I used to hear people always talk about Smokey and the Bandit, this Smokey and the Bandit, and then now to finally actually watch Smokey and the Bandit, all three, I don't know what those people were on.
And yeah, I'm pretty much same with you on my thoughts of the whole series. There's no real need for any of it to exist.
Yeah. The third is tolerable. The third is tolerable from the end, or from midway on. It would be something like you say to watch on a bad movie night, or when you don't. Yeah, I can watch it in a certain situation like that, just for like, we're gonna watch some old B movies. The rest of the series, no. And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but I mean in as a person who is watching, enjoying films, patron of the theatrical. It's like, no. 1 and 2, forget it. Number 3, and that's my official. That's my official.
That's your thought of the series as a whole.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, technically, we didn't watch the TV movies from the 90s, but we don't need to. No one really cares about those, I feel.
We don't know. We don't need to inflict that upon ourselves. Yes.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, I feel we should possibly, read reviews of the films, really. But before we do that, any final words you were going to add?
No, that's about it. That's my take on it. My brain hurts after that second one, so.
You said you needed to take ibuprofen.
I felt better during the third one, though. I got to feel better after.
Like, at that point, I feel we were just so brain dead after the second one. We just accepted the madness and rolled with it.
Yes.
We just let it happen.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that definitely helps. Now, moving on to reviews, I'm going to read some critic reviews off of Rotten Tomatoes, at least, of the 3 films. First off, we're going to be going off the first film. Ron Pennington says, while the joke wears thin very quickly, there are a number of amusing sequences which are combined with some exciting road action to provide a mildly entertaining and totally mindless film.
Yeah, I can see that.
The staff of Variety says there is a parade of roadside set pieces involving many different ways to crash cars. Majorie Bumgarten says, the king of good old boy movies. Time Out says, despite a thin premise for an action comedy road chase, the film's enthusiasm makes up for its lack of ideas. And I will note that the first film definitely had more action on the road. The second one, they were just going the speed limit.
That's another thing. Yeah, it's like I've ridden with people who like drive. I've driven places it's like you're not. They weren't doing over certain ones like you're not even doing 40 miles an hour or 35. It's like I drive that downtown central every 35 with our speed limit. I can tell that you're not going very fast.
And now they did look like they're going 40 at one point.
Yes.
Like it's supposed to be an action film. You came to watch this film so you can see, high-speed action. And what you get is people going the road speed limit.
Yeah. At least on those old TV shows, they'd speed the cars up, make them look like they were going faster.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree on that now.
Now to continue, David Douglas, and I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing any of the reviewers' names, The Burt Reynolds formula, the good old boy armed only with his quick quip and boyish grin, goes afoul in Smokey and the Bandit despite the engaging presence of Sally Field. Okay, David, we know what you were staring at through the film. Ruth Batchelor says, Hal Needham's direction was well-paced and deft, and I came out wanting to get a CB, and that's not D-Mill. Brandy McDonald says, this Southern Fried Romp has a big personality and an infectious sense of fun that makes it worth taking for another spin. Not to me, honestly, though, but in my own opinion, Brandy McDonald of the Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Tim Brayton of Antagony and Ecstasy says, a half-forgotten little curio for later generations to study with puzzled delight. Eloquently said,
puzzlement I can agree with. Delight, I don't know. Definitely
unless it's an afternoon delight. Which, by the way, we never saw them travel at night in the first film. I just thought of that. It's supposed to be, a 28-hour thing. We saw it going towards sunset. So did just nothing happen at night?
I mean, and nighttime lasts a few hours. I mean, you're doing something like that, you want to make all the time any truckers I've ever met, they drive nights. I've seen them, I've driven nights on highways, and there's a lot of trucks driving at nighttime. Yes.
Then Renee Schoenfield of Common Sense Media says, car stunts, romance, and salty language in 1970s comedy. Gave it a 3 out of 5.
Salty language?
Kevin Carr of 7 Pictures says, quintessentially 70s and still a lot of fun. That is definitely what I can say about Smokey and Bandit series. It was the 1970s.
You mentioned that, yes. Wow.
Matt Brunson of Creative Loafing says, the movie benefits from some excellent vehicular stunt work, an apt role for Burt Reynolds, the introduction of Jerry Reed's Eastbound and Down, and a bright turn by Reynolds' real-life girlfriend South. Whoa, they were real? I didn't know that.
Nor I.
And Jackie Gleason at his hammiest. Then Brian Orndorff of his own website says, Bandit has a pronounced southern charm and smash-em fervor that aids in the digestion of an otherwise overly silly enterprise that's way too permissive with its on-screen talent. Rating B-. Everyone has their own different ratings, by the way.
That's where it gets confusing, too.
Phil H., this is just audience reviews now, gave it a 3.5 out of 5. 'Twas this movie that helped along the creation of the popular cult TV show The Dukes of Hazzard. Not solely, of course, but these fast-driving southern cowboys really grabbed the public's attention back in the late 70s. In an odd way, now that I think about it, this franchise could well be looked upon as the Fast and Furious of its day. A lot of the interest here focuses on the automobiles with the Pontiac Trans Am, but if you have a thing for big American rigs, then you'll enjoy this too. Then they just give a whole rundown of the plot. Like, we just watched the movie, we don't need that.
No. Spare us.
KGP gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Smokey and the Bandit is one of the fun movies that you can easily watch over and over again without ever getting tired. Are you sure? I'm glad you can enjoy it. I don't need to watch it over and over again. I watched it once. I felt that's enough.
Yeah, I mean, it was acceptable. It was entertaining, somewhat, but no, I'm not going to get this on Blu-ray. I'm not going to share this with my grandchildren and my generations to come, or have a big movie party with it. No.
Then Brody M. gave it 4 out of 5 stars. When I was little, I used to hate this movie, and the only thing I liked about it was Burt Reynolds' Trans Am and Jerry Reed. After watching it now, I can't understand why. The car chases weren't only awesome, but sometimes hilarious. And the cast of characters were great as well, especially Jackie Gleason and Big Enos and Little Enos. As for Chris W., they just basically recite the entire plot, so I don't need to read that. But they gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Huh.
Also, you know how we were talking about them going the speeds they were? I just remember one of the lines. Are we going 110? We're going 110 from the first film. Now it looks like you're only going 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, because in the first one, plus any other film you see with people driving fast and making quick turns on those dirt roads, I mean, you see how the vehicles flip, you know, they fishtail and all the dirt they throw and dust they throw up. And this one, it's like meet, you know, they're barely moving. Yeah, you can, yeah.
And then there was the point in whichever the films it was when they were going over that bridge that was raising up or raising down, or lowering down rather. But the movie literally came to a standstill. They were stopped. That was the action. But yes, now it's time to move on to Smokey and the Bandit 2's critic reviews. Gary Arnold of the Washington Post said, a premeditated embarrassment.
Ooh!
Larry Vitko of the Philadelphia Gay News said, shame on everybody involved, giving it a 1.5 out of 4.
Wow.
Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times, as if that's the only thing he's known for. How can I say it's lazy when it has 50 trucks doing stunts in it? Because it takes a lot less thought to fill up a movie with stunts than to create a comedy that's only funny.
Yeah, that takes effort.
Then Chuck O'Leary of FullViewDriveIn.com says, fizzles badly after a hilarious first half hour or so, rating 5 out of 10. Like, hilarious first half, Smoking the Bandit 2. What was hilarious? Watching Burt Reynolds be an absolute alcoholic is funny?
And doing and playing it so badly. You know, stereotypically badly. Oh.
I'm guessing they just like laughing at drunk people?
Yeah.
Like, what's the first half? You know, the literal mudslinging going on with the planes, to put it that way. Then semis racing, and then Burt Reynolds being absolutely drunk. And also the meeting of the Enoses with the governor. All that was hilarious? Sure.
No. No. This man embarrassed himself about an embarrassing film.
Emmanuel Levy of his own website, quote, unavailable, rating 2 out of 5. Stacey Lane Wilson of their own website, Bert and Sally say it ain't so. Kevin A. Ranson sadly cashes in on the original. I say the third one is much closer to the first film than the second is.
Yes, I do too.
It doesn't help that they rehashed a lot of the same things, but I feel the third one actually is more connected to the lore and the world of the first film than the second one is. The second one, Burt Reynolds decided being an absolute douche is just going around like, "Ha, look, I'm hot shit because I'm the bandit. Everybody loves me. Look how popular I am. I'm so obsessed with my own image. I don't care about anyone else around me."
Yeah, it pretty well covers it, yeah.
He was essentially seeing Stroker Ace on a film prematurely because I think Stroker Ace came out like a year or two after. Or 3. I can't remember exactly. But yeah. As for audience reviews of Smoking the Bandit 2, Phil H., aside giving an absolute rundown of the entire thing, goes, Hal Needham is back with Reynolds and all the gang for another dose of pedal to the metal, tarmac burning, high octane highway speeding, I think. Highway speeding? Yeah, nah. That didn't happen, bro. But I do like that their closing statement is, do yourself a favor and don't bother with this shockingly woeful attempt at a sequel. He gave it 1.5 stars out of 5. Eric S. says, a really dumb movie. Maybe if you're drunk or high, you'll find it funny. Most scenes are just ridiculous and, for the most part, pointless. Just a bad case of trying too hard to be funny. Didn't even like the cop/truck smash fest at the end. Stupid. 2 out of 5 stars.
Yeah. Agreed.
Then Brody M. gave it half a star because you have to give it at least a minimum rating. The original was a masterpiece compared to this piece of crap. Some movies should never be turned into a sequel, and Smokey and the Bandit was one of them. There's really nothing worth watching here other than Jackie Gleason. Well, I hope they enjoy the third film.
Yeah.
You practically get nothing but him.
Mm-hmm.
As for Jason O, they gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Not as good as the first one, but still great stuff. This one with the elephant and Burt Reynolds as a drunk after he and Field broke up. The part where all of the 18-wheelers take on the horde of police cars was excellently done, and I call it classic. Excellently done. It seemed more like it was just erratic cars driving without any direction. And many of them just smashed into their own selves. Like the police were wrecking themselves into themselves.
Yeah.
But sure, excellent. Maybe you just like the fact that there's just so many things going on screen.
Yeah, it was shiny and things were going on.
I wouldn't call it excellent, Jason, but you enjoy it as you wish.
Mm-hmm. So make sure you're watching the same movie, that's all.
Then there's that one scene in the second film where they just stop by that diesel place, and that's also where the ambulance shows up with the whole, if I had any more diesel fuel, they'd make me join that OPEC.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
a little topical, ain't ya?
Yeah. It was something.
As for the third film, and also I will note that Smokey and the Bandit 2 had it in Roman numerals as 2. Then Smokey and the Bandit 3 is called Part 3 with the actual number. So that's interesting that they didn't even bother there.
Really.
As for critic reviews for Smokey and the Bandit Part 3, Janet Maslin, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry Janet, of New York Times. Mr. Reynolds is gone, and whatever was enjoyable about the Smokey formula went with him. Wow. Okay, a little harsh, Janet. Back it down a bit. Like, I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed this film for more than just Reynolds. It seems all you care about is seeing Reynolds on screen.
Yeah.
He wasn't even the most, interesting part of the films he was in. It was the other characters. Like, we're supposed to call him the hero, and he's just an asshole. It's just like Strucker Ace. Like, if you want to go see Mr. Reynolds be an asshole even further, go ahead and watch Strucker Ace.
Yeah.
It's practically the same thing. It's just that he's doing it on a track, generally.
Yeah.
I'd consider that a spiritual successor to these films, really.
Yeah, because he does have that character about it. That character is kept through, yeah.
Yeah. Variety staff says, the sense of fun in that original is missing, and the countless smash-ups and near misses are orchestrated randomly. Did you watch the second film? Because that happened in that, too.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
So that's Variety staff commented on the first and now the third, but they didn't comment on the second one. I am the butcher of the English language. The staff of People magazine said the road scenes are routine. Even the vehicles aren't appealing. It was the 80s. Not a lot of cars were appealing. Just get over it. In the name of decency, spare us another smoking. Well, you don't have to worry about that, People staff who reviewed that in 2019. There hasn't been one in like 36 years at the time you were writing that.
Wow.
Scott Bowles of Austin Chronicle or Bowles, Lowry, Birnbaum, and Dashu are really unfortunate that they weren't making movies 45 years ago. They could have done real well for themselves making 2 real comedies for Joseph Goebbels. Wow! Scott! Damn!
Wow.
Wow! Come on, Scott. Back the fuck down.
Yeah, and they were good, but damn, dude, that's a hell of a reference.
0 out of 5, by the way, he rated it. TV Guide says, this film doesn't even have the basic narrative coherence of the first 2. Okay, second one did not have no damn coherence.
No, none at all.
It's like these people just skipped the second film. Y'all are acting all shocked that the third one's this bad. Have you seen the second?
Yeah. Yeah, we watched all 3 of them in succession. No. Apparently these people did not. Or they were going off of somebody else's review.
Yeah, but yeah, the TV Guide's full statement. This film doesn't even have the basic narrative coherence of the first 2, and I don't have the English coherence. And it rambles about aimlessly with little humor or action. This is commercial filmmaking at its very worst. It only had $9 million. It was basically the same budget as a television film. Come on.
There you go. And with that, they did so much better than that second one with a lot more money.
Sky staff of Sky Cinema says Gleason remains as funny as ever at the center of this patchwork of arbitrary mayhem. All right, that was a good one. Phil H. Why is this sequel called Part 3? Beats me. Sounds strange, really, like an old-fashioned tale. Other than that, it's business as usual for a third time, except for the fact that the bandit is no longer with us on this road trip. Yep, for this third movie, Reynolds has flown the coop, leaving Gleason to hold the fort on his lonesome. By the way, this person gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Skip to the end because they basically just, summarized the entire thing, giving a play-by-play. If you like to spot all the old cars, pickup trucks, and big rigs while seeing a good old crunch-up with solid stunts, etc., well, you know already this is the movie for you. I don't remember much pickup trucks in the third film.
All right.
Or not pickup trucks, but semis. But yeah, like, with the film being so reliant on truckering, the only truck I really remember was the Hawaiian Punch one where the lady was driving, Mother Trucker.
Yes. Yeah, and she hid them from the sheriff. It's like they didn't even have a number of trucks. It was just one truck. We got a tiny convoy here of one.
Which I believe that might have been one of the trucks from the first one, because I remember a Hawaiian Punch truck in one of them.
I thought so too.
But yeah, Phil H is the only audience review for Smokey and the Bandit Part 3. I will note that Smokey and the Bandit Part 3 has a 17% approval rating. That is more than the second film got, which had 14%.
And I'm surprised at that. But
the audience rated the second one at 43%, by the way. And as for the third film, only 18% of the audience enjoyed it. Come on, guys. It was actually better. It still wasn't good, but it was better.
Yeah, definitely.
It's at least rewatchable.
Yeah.
But yes, I believe it's time for us to have some closing thoughts before we end this up.
Well, we watched it, all three. I don't think I feel obligated to watch any of them again. I mean, I would, but as we were saying earlier, I could watch the third one on a fun, bad movie night. Second one, I just no possible way at all. The first one, I'm just not interested, but yeah. So the third one is I can watch the first and the third. Nah, I can watch the third again, and I wouldn't have to pay attention for the first part of it because I could go fix myself a snack, maybe do a dish or two or do something, and be ready by about the halfway point. I think we figured. Say, I can sit down and watch this now. Yeah. That's about it. That's the best I can do. I'm sorry. That's the best I can do.
Also, the soundtrack for this third one was only 6 songs. Like, everyone was wanting to buy that. I believe there was only probably 1 copy sold or something, because I doubt that was a hot ticket item. Everybody was rushing to the store to get that Smokey and the Bandit Part 3 soundtrack, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure in some plane of existence or a parallel universe.
Like, I don't see many people getting that.
No.
As for the first one, maybe for Eastbound and Down, that's about it. And that's not even really a good song. It's just stupid fun. And also, that was perhaps a little bit of insight into what was to come, is they were so lazy with that music there that the guy who was in charge of writing all the music for the film and also appeared in the film just reused Eastbound and Down by changing it to Westbound and Down. Just changing east for west, and that's it. Like, come on, bro.
I gotta put this many songs out. Oh, shoot, I can't think of another one. We'll just take that one through. I mean, if he did that in another film and changed it, or as a separate release and changed a few words but kept the basic song, okay. But in the same flippin' movie, you take your one song and then you change a word or two, as you were saying, and then actually record it and include it? No, that's not artistic or creative. Lazy. It's lazy.
And the music for the second and third film are nothing to really write home about?
I honestly don't remember. None of them stick in my mind.
I know they used Eastbound and Down in like the opening of one of the films.
Yeah, but I don't really remember. The soundtrack is not memorable to me at all on the last two.
Yeah. But yeah, the Smokey and the Bandit franchise we just went through. Like, I had seen the first one mainly because everyone else I know, in my waking life just seems to adore it. I never really cared for it. I know it's a favorite among many people, but it's just not much for me, really.
Yeah, to be honest, as far as acting ability or memorable things, I think I would rather watch. I mean, I would get more from watching some of his older films, his old black and white. Because he was in some black and white films, and as I said, I believe an episode of The Twilight Zone or one of the similar programs. But he was acting. He's just being Stroker Ace. I'm sorry.
That's his standard for that era of him.
Yeah. And didn't even really try to change the character. You could probably take scenes from the one and stick them in the other and you wouldn't notice.
Indeed. And they were both written by the same guy and directed by the same guy. So he knew what he was doing when he later made Strucker Race.
Wow.
But yeah, I had never seen or even knew that there were sequels to Smokey and the Bandit, but now we've solved that mystery, and we don't need to go to 2 ever again.
Yeah.
There's just nothing redeeming.
No. And I think there was more effort put in the third. Definitely think at some point there was more effort put into the third.
Or maybe it was just as basically a vehicle for Gleason.
Yeah.
Perhaps him filling up so much space improved things. Who knows?
Yeah.
Also, this alternate poster for Smokey and the Bandit Part 3, it shows a guy who replaced Bert, but he has no mustache like he had in the film. And there's a helicopter flying. I don't remember a helicopter in the third film.
Nor I. I saw a helicopter at one point, but it didn't have any real relevance except just being in the shot.
It reminds me of the other, the more official cover of the third film, how it doesn't have a lot of correlation to anything that happened in the film. Well, he never had one of his eyeglasses for sunglasses there pop out, and the shark didn't look like that, and all this other stuff going on. In fact, it looks like his son's on fire, and that never happened.
Yeah.
And also, Tina never wore a teal blue shirt.
No, that's why I didn't recognize who she was at first. The only thing that gave me a clue initially finally was like, oh, the boots. I remember she had those long boots. And that's how I figured, that's her. Yeah.
Oh, and we completely forgot about the field stand-in for the third film. I enjoyed the little scene she had where she just basically ranted off at the used car dealer man, or even just a dealer man there.
Oh, yeah.
That was good, too.
That was. Because you can see what a creep he was.
Indeed.
Yeah. I mean, he's a creep around the woman. He was a creep as far as a car dealer. I mean, there's always the stereotypical used car dealerships, but he really was a rotter. Yeah.
Oh, and you know how others would stand down at B4T Justice, when they were trying to stop him, but then he'd, bicker at them? I love that the woman in that last film there who did the tow truck just did not give a shit.
And she didn't even make...
You violated this, and we're going to take it away.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. I liked her character. It's like, I'm not even wasting my time, with you. It's like, yeah, I'm doing my job. I'm out of here.
Maybe because it's the Smokey and the Bandit film out of all of them. That's probably why I like 3. But yeah, overall, I'd say give 3 a chance. If you want to watch the first 2, go for it. But definitely don't watch 2.
Yeah, I think I could watch the third one with no reference or no thoughts of the first 2 and take it as an acceptable movie. Yeah.
Is that your final thoughts?
That is my final thoughts, indeed.
Well, with that, I believe we should be signing out. So, would you like to go first?
Well, this is Carl Townsend, and those were my thoughts and observations of the movie, and I did enjoy the experience of watching them. Actually, with a friend, I think I needed that support of a good
we definitely could never go through the second film alone. That is a piece of advice for anyone. If you dare to touch the second film, don't go it alone.
Don't watch it alone.
But yeah, do finish up your statement there. Sorry, I had to interbutt in there.
No.
Rather.
Oh, you're fine. Now I could not have done this alone. I really could not have. If we hadn't decided. Oh yeah, good. Yes. Yeah, I'd have given up. I could not have gone through the second one, and I certainly would not have dared watch or had the enthusiasm to watch the third based on the second. But yes, sometimes you need that friend to help you get through these things, and we did it.
Indeed.
Yes. It was a pleasure. Well, reviewing was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to review with you. We'll call it good there.
Well, with Carl signing out, I believe it is also my time to sign out. If you bothered to listen through this entire thing or watched or however you're doing this, thank you for that. And this was quite an experience. And I don't think I'm going to be watching the first two ever again. I don't really need to watch the first one. It's not like it's absolutely terrible, but I just don't need to watch it. But third, yeah, maybe. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed. Do take care and farewell.